Hello, girls. We will continue with the study of Great Expectations. We are today going to look at the themes of the novels. The first theme of the novel would be social class. Now, throughout the novel, you see how Pip really wants to rise from a commoner to a gentleman. Now, Dickens was known for highlighting the developing urbane society and class consciousness in his novel. So, you see, if you read the novel properly, you will see that the city is coming up. So, he's moving from the village to London, and London as a city was coming up, the society was changing, the class was changing, there were different bifurcations amongst people of the society, and that is something that is a constant theme coming again and again in the novel. So it forms one of the finest examples of this particular theme. Now, Pip's rise from a commoner to a gentleman, his interaction with people of different classes, gives the reader an insight into the class system prevailing in the society of Victorian England right from the beginning, where we are told that Pip is actually an orphan and he does not belong to a higher class. Actually, he comes from a very small family. The only parent figure in his life is Joe, who is a blacksmith and works in a forge. Okay. Also, he belongs to the village, he does not belong to the city. The first time he comes in contact with higher class or the higher society is when he starts working at Miss Havisham's place. And Miss Havisham and Estella, both of them belong to the higher class because they're rich and they have a lot of money. So we see the class difference right then and there. Then he moves to London, and in London again he has to interact with different kinds of people. Herbert Pocket, then Mr. Jaggers, Wemmick, all of these people, he comes in contact with all of these people and he realizes how the class difference is very different in the city from what it is in the village. So this is something that is very evident in the entire novel. The second important theme that comes up in the novel is ambition and self-improvement. So Pip's constant struggle to be a gentleman and his annoyance on being considered a commoner gives the plot a major theme of ambition. Right in the beginning, we see how Estella snubs Pip by calling him a commoner, by referring to him as a servant boy who is just there to entertain her and nothing else. That really pinches Pip, and he decides that no matter what, just to show this person, just to show this girl that I'm not just a servant, I'm not somebody who's made to be servile to you, he reaches out on he grabs the first opportunity that he gets to be a gentleman, and he moves to London, disregarding whatever Joe and Biddy tell him. All of that, he just wants to do this for Estella, whom he is in love with, but that love sort of gives a push to his ambition. Okay, and he's continuously trying to improve his living conditions. Although in vying for this material prosperity, Pip conveniently ignores his emotional and mental growth, and it is not until he is severely in debt that he realizes that he has, by not giving importance to his relations and his feelings and his emotions, he has really created a pit for himself. So we see this ambition and self-improvement in the novel. The next important theme is integrity and reputation. We see that both these concepts are at loggerheads for every character in the novel. So all the characters in the novel are struggling for their integrity and reputation. Pip struggles with his dilemma of choosing between his reputation and his association with Provis. Since the beginning, when he decides to help Provis, when he decides to help this convict, since then he's constantly feeling guilty, and he constantly feels this thing that maybe he has done something wrong by helping out Provis, and because it is directly affecting his reputation. Okay, it is directly affecting his reputation even later in the book, when he grows rich and he becomes a gentleman, and when he realizes that Provis is his patron, he is not able to control himself from helping him out, and he helps him out. He even hatches a plan to help Provis escape, but being a man of his word, he gives this word to Provis, and he wants to stick to maintain his integrity but that directly affects his reputation as a gentleman, because a gentleman is not supposed to be associated with a convict or with a person who is an escaped convict. So we see this struggle constantly, we see this dilemma. Estella also chooses to marry this Drummel guy purely for the grace of her reputation as a noble woman. She loves Pip, but she hides that affection. She buries those feelings really deep in her heart, because she feels that it will directly affect her reputation if she agrees to marry Pip, and if she agrees to be with him, that will affect her reputation as a noble woman. So she agrees to marry Drummel, who is not worth at all. We see the other characters such as Joe, Mr. Jaggers, Miss Havisham. All of them are worried for their reputation and their integrity as a human being. There are different instances for each of them to which describe to you as a reader how they are struggling with these two things, these two concepts. The next theme is about parents. And Dickens, through this particular novel, he brings to his reader the parenting reality of Victorian society. Now, he shows two kinds of parenting in the novel. First is the relationship between Pip and Joe. We know that Pip is an orphan, and Joe kind of adopts him into his family, but he plays the role of a father figure throughout the novel to Pip. Even when Pip has snubbed Joe out of his life, he has been a really ungrateful person. Even then, Joe is there for him, and he pays his debts off, and he takes care of him and makes sure that he's safe and healthy. That shows that this is how a parent should be. On the other hand, we have Estella and Miss Havisham. Estella is an abandoned child, like we get to know. She's actually Provis's daughter, but she was abandoned by her mother and she was abandoned by her father. And she's taken in as a ward by Miss Havisham, but realize this thing that Miss Havisham takes her in for her own benefit. Okay, she wants to sort of take a revenge from the society of men, from the entire community of men, by raising Estella into this heartbreaking machine who goes about flaunting her beauty and her money, but will not accept any man's proposal just like that. She will not fall in love with any person. She would not trust anybody to have fallen in love with her, and that is why Estella sort of becomes a weapon for Miss Havisham, a weapon, a source of revenge from the entire community of men. Therefore, we see there are two kinds of parentings shown in this particular novel. One is where the parent gives away his all. The other is where the parent literally uses the child. So this was the kind of parenting being done in the Victorian society. The rich and the aristocratic families, they used their kids for alliances, for political alliances, marriage alliances, to build up their relation, to build up their power, and that's how they were conditioned. That's how the kids were conditioned to be. And similarly, but the people coming from the rural society, they were giving and sacrificing, and they would give up everything for their children to reach on a certain point, to fulfill their ambitions, to fulfill their needs. So we see these two kinds of parenting happening in the novel, and this particular theme becomes a very important undertone of the plotline. The next would be justice. Now, Great Expectation becomes a testimony to the deteriorating judicial system of Victorian Britain. Cases of Provis and Compensy describe how the law of Britain did not take into account the intent, motive, and circumstances of a criminal, instead pronounced judgments on the basis of the appearance, class, and hearsay. The character of Mr. Jaggers, who was actually a lawyer, brings to the forefront how shrewd men like him easily molded the judicial system for their benefit. So, Mr. Jaggers works for Provis also, and he works for Miss Havisham as well. He earlier gets Provis, initially he's not able to get an acquittal for Provis because of his shabby appearance, his shoddy past, and all of these things work against Provis. But these are not the things that the judges should take into account while they're pronouncing judgments. In fact, they don't, in the Victorian Britain, they don't take into account the intention, the motive, and the circumstances of a criminal. Instead, appearance, class, and hearsay was being taken into account. So that is something that brings about the true nature of justice is being tampered with in this particular novel, because it was being hampered in the Victorian society of Great Britain. The last and one of the most hidden themes of the novel is generosity. Since the beginning of the novel, generosity plays a constant undertone in the plot. In the first chapter itself, we see how Pip helps Provis out and how he's generous towards Provis. But this generosity, and I'm not talking about Pip here, this generosity as an abstract concept in the novel changes faces. Okay, so we have Pip, Joe, Biddy, and Herbert, who all play a truly generous heart, right? They all have an actual generous heart where they're kind and helpful towards each other and towards the rest of the society as well. Whereas we have characters like Miss Havisham, Uncle Pumblechook, and Mr. Jaggers, who display what we call as the selfish generosity. What is this selfish generosity? I mean, they are generous towards the people around them only for their own gains. They need something back. So this generosity is not completely generous as such. It's not without conditions. It's not unconditional. It's for the profit of the person who is being generous. So these are the main themes which come up in Great Expectations. If you read the text properly, you'll be able to point out these themes. You'll be able to pick out instances where these themes are showing up. Please go through the novel if you haven't done so yet. Next class, I will go on with the character analysis and the probable questions, and we will close with Great Expectations there. After which, we have to begin with another novel, which is Tess of the D'Urbervilles. If you haven't read the novel till now, I would expect you to read Tess of the D'Urbervilles as soon as you can, so that we can begin with it in the next week, in the coming week, and that's how we're going to go about it. Thank you so much. This is all for today.